1984.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the premiere episode of my brand new podcast. This is called DefDave's 1984. My name is DefDave, and if you've been listening to a lot of the same podcasts I've been listening to, maybe you've heard my name before. I'm a huge fan of 80s pop culture, and as I spent more and more time reliving the 80s, I very inevitably came to the conclusion that 1984 was actually the best year ever. I've had this debate many times with people in terms of if it was the best year for movies or if it was the best year for music. But the argument that the hill that I will die on is when you take every aspect of 1984, not just movies or music, but everything, whether it's television, sports, cartoons, toys, comics, wrestling, true crime, fiction, novels on the bestseller list. When you take everything about 1984 in its entirety, I don't think there's any doubt that it was the best year ever for pop culture. And I'm going to be spending the next 4 seasons laying out exactly why that is. And to help me bring in this show on the premiere episode are 2 of the guys who behind the scenes were probably most responsible. You can credit them or you can blame them however you see fit. But I'd like to welcome first Jeff Johnson, host of the A Film By podcast. And we also have with us Jason Colvin from the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. Gentlemen, welcome to 1984. Thank you for joining me back here during the best year ever. Jeff, how's it going?
It's going great, DefDave, and I am happy to be here. I know you got a great lineup of topics to discuss, and I can't wait to see what you do.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Dave. I'm excited about this as well. So this has been a long time coming. I'm glad you finally kicked this thing off so we can get started on 1984.
I feel like this may actually have been y'all's idea first. Y'all been kind of whispering in my ear and kicking me in the butt for about 2 years now. But every time I see somebody else try to make a case for a different year, it's like I've got so much I can bring to this argument. I'm holding back right now, and I figured, why not do a podcast where we take our time and step through every single day of the year. We're going to go chronologically. We're going to follow the timeline because not only do I want to cover all aspects of pop culture, but I want to present it chronologically so that we can get a sense for when things were happening in relation to one another, because I don't think people realize how fast and how often some of these like huge significant pop cultural things were happening, whether they were events or albums or movies or whatever. So tell me, give me a little bit here. What makes you think this was a good idea? Y'all talked me into this. I feel like the train's leaving the station now, and I can't stop it. So, what do you see as the appeal here?
I think it's simple. You had this successful run with DefDave's Apples and Oranges, and you kept talking about I don't know what my next project's gonna be, but at the same time, you wouldn't shut up about how great 1984 was. And I was like, dude, it's DefDave's 1984. That's where we're going. Tell us about the year. Why, state your case. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I'm ready to hear.
The interesting thing to me, so we've obviously we kicked this around a lot. This is something very common between the 3 of us. I think there is a case to be made that maybe there's another year that has better movies or maybe another year that has better music. But when you take it all into consideration, the movies, the music, the time period, the sports, the events, just everything that goes into pop culture, I think you're hard pressed to say any other year other than 1984.
Jason, we will fight him on what the best year in the 1980s was for film. But when you add it all up, I mean, pop culture as a whole, it is very difficult to debate him on the year 1984. So,
well, guys, I appreciate that. And before we're done here today, I'm going to ask y'all for some of the things in '84 that you remember or that you're aware of that took place in that year that you're looking forward to this show covering. But before we get too far into it, I just want to ask each of you, what was your 1984 like? Jeff, I'll start with you. Where were you? How old were you? What kind of stuff were you into?
Well, I was 8 years old, so I'm pretty sure I was running around the backyard in my Ocean Pacific T-shirt and parachute pants. I'm sure I had a G.I. Joe Sky Striker in my hand, creating my own adventures with my action figures. But again, at that age, I was into Saturday morning cartoons, Michael Jackson's music, action figures, Pop-Tarts, Little League Baseball. It was the first time I seen the ocean, and I specifically remember going to the movie theater to see The Karate Kid, Gremlins, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You know, looking back, I can say you could debate who the bigger movie villain was between Daniel LaRusso and Mola Ram.
All right. You're cracking open the Daniel LaRusso debate right away here on the premiere episode. I see how it's going to go. We will definitely, I don't know if we're going to cover Pop-Tarts, but we will cover Saturday morning cartoons, and we will cover The Karate Kid, and we will cover Gremlins and Indiana Jones. I'm also glad to hear that you were in the theater to see those, because I know that you were a little bit younger than us.
Yeah. So I was
Jason,
a
what
grader.
about you?
I was a sixth grader. So I turned 11 in 1984. And 1984 gave birth to a new hobby for me, which I suspect will also be for you guys as well. But it's kind of a forgotten hobby, right? So what I got in 1984 was a VCR. And what I started doing with that VCR was taping movies off of my television so that I could rewatch those movies later. And it was like the greatest thing ever, right? Like I can put this blank tape in and I can save this movie and I can rewatch it. And so that was awesome. So I spent a lot of time watching movies, rewatching movies. I spent time with collecting baseball cards. My football team went undefeated that year. I watched the U.S. Olympics, the LA Olympics. I got involved in that. But MTV became a much more important staple in my life, pretty much because of Michael Jackson's Thriller. I started watching it a lot more closely after that.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what year we got a VCR, but that did change the game in a very fundamental way, because until then, you didn't have a way to really rewatch movies. It was more common for hit movies to be in theaters longer and to also get re-releases, in consecutive years, just because there was not a home market satisfying the demand to see this movie. Also, comic book adaptations of hit movies were a lot more popular back then, because it was a way for kids to keep their memory of the movie alive, because you couldn't just watch it at your convenience. And like you're saying, 84 might have been peak year for MTV, a peak year for music. We got some giant albums coming in, both in the world of pop and in rock. We're going to cover all of those on this show. And we can kind of share a little bit of what sort of stuff like that we're looking forward to that will eventually get covered here. But before we do, I want to kind of set the stage here. I want to set the table for what pop culture was looking like as that calendar flips from 1983 over to January 1st, 1984. Guys, do any of you remember anything about what was going on in December of 83? You got any big things for me from December of 83?
Well, I can go through the Billboard Hot 100 of December 31st, 1983, which, flip the calendar. Well, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we can get that in a second. So let me run this down for you. December 2nd, 1983, the Thriller video premieres.
Wow.
So
Game changer.
That was a nuclear bomb. That made an enormous impact. I believe it was airing simultaneously on multiple networks. Of course, they had the making of documentary in stores, and it gave a whole new life to the Thriller album and reinvented music videos and reimagined what they could possibly be. You did see Say take over the number one spot. Speaking of Michael Jackson, number one spot on December 10th. It would stay there for 6 weeks. That means it rolled into 1984 as the number one song. December 13th, the highest scoring NBA game ever. On December 28th, I have to talk about this real quick. I'm the Apples and Oranges guy. That's a podcast that I did in 2024. It's about 30 episodes. I did it with my son. It's a Beatles versus Beach Boys podcast where we compare their albums against each other in a series of 1v1 formats. That show is very successful, and if that sounds appealing to anybody at all, I encourage you to go look it up. but I'm also going to work in some Beatles and Beach Boys whenever I can in this 84 show. What happens here on December 28th is that Dennis Wilson dies. He's diving drunk in a marina in California, and he's actually diving down looking for stuff that he had thrown overboard of his yacht that he used to own, and he was finding stuff he was picking up and showing it to people. One time he went down and didn't come back up. That happened on December 28th. And then, guys, do you know what was going on at Christmas time? Jeff, can you take a shot at what might have been popular at Christmas in 1983?
Are we talking about the box office in December of 83?
No, we're talking about toys. We're talking about Christmas.
Oh.
No, we're talking Christmas season of what toys might have been dominating that holiday season.
Well, if you're in the Johnson household, the tree is just packed full with G.I. Joes. It's got to be.
Yeah. Well, the image I have up on the screen now is showing Optimus Prime. The Transformers wouldn't come around until 84, but G.I. Joe and He-Man, huge in 1983. Absolutely huge. This was also the Christmas season of the Cabbage Patch Insanity. I don't know if y'all remember this, but this was an insane craze that kind of took over for this holiday season. This is where you get all the Black Friday violence and the parents getting into fights with each other to just try to grab one of these dolls. It was crazy. And I think it might have been rivaled by the Tickle Me Elmo thing that happened in 1996. But anyway, that is kind of what December of 83 was looking like. But I want to know, guys, like, what was happening with movies and music and stuff like that? Jeff, can you share with us, as 1983 is ending, we're rolling in 84, what's that box office looking like?
Well, your December box office in the last week of 1983 capped off a strong holiday season at the movies. This particular week, the top 5 movies in theaters were Terms of Endearment, which had kind of reclaimed the number 1 spot. It was actually released November 23rd, but made a strong drive right there at the end of the year. Followed by new releases Sudden Impact, Scarface, and Uncommon Valor. And rounding out that top 5, talk about staying power, all the way back from May 25th, Return of the Jedi was your number 5 movie.
Wow. So we're rolling into 84 with Return of the Jedi still in the top 5 of the box office.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's what I was saying earlier. Where, they stayed in theaters longer then. You didn't have that home market or, these streaming services that were looking to get a hold of these movies, any kind of quick way. I guess you had HBO, and then you waited a few years for a broadcast TV debut. And so when you had a monster hit like Return of the Jedi, it was going to stay around forever. I also know that this was the month, wasn't it, that Christine came out and hit theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason, what you got for us on the Billboard Hot 100? What did that top 5 look like as we roll into 1984?
I've got it right here. I'm going to tell you about it, and it's a great list. But what Jeff didn't mention is right around the corner from those great movies, you have the greatest ski movie of all time come out at the very beginning of 1984. Hot Dog, the movie.
Yeah.
January of 84. Dave, I'm still hoping to twist your arm into maybe a supplemental episode. Skiing plus boobs times Chinese downhill equals the greatest ski movie of all time.
I don't have it slated in my schedule yet.
How many more years do we have to wait? Like, there are three podcasts between us right now. This has got to be the year of Hot Dog the movie. I'm telling you right now. I don't care if it's Shirley You Can't Be Serious. I don't care if it's a film by or DefDave's 1984. But someone give us Hot Dog the movie.
Hot Dog the movie. Yes. Okay, so the Hot 100. Here you go. This is really solid, man. In fact, I'm gonna blow through the top 10, Dave. I'm sorry, I'm overstepping here, but number 10 is "Break My Stride" by Matthew Wilder, the guy who went on to produce Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt, which was one of the biggest albums of the 90s. Number 9 is "Undercover of the Night" by the Rolling Stones. Number 8, "Twist of Fate" by Olivia Newton-John. Number 7, Love is a Battlefield by Pat Benatar. Number 6, Uptown Girl, Billy Joel. Of course, you have Billy and Christy Brinkley in that video. Super fun. Number 5, All Night Long by Lionel Richie. Number 4, Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes. Number 3, Union of the Snake by Duran Duran. Number 2, Say It Isn't So, Hall & Oates. And number 1, Say, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, and an arm wrestling contest in the video. It was glorious, man. What a time. What a time.
I remember all of that extremely well. I didn't mention it when y'all were talking, but this was 7th grade for me. I'm turning 13 in January of 84. And as I'm looking at these chart histories and going by my own memory, I've kind of figured out that it must have been the year before, my 6th grade year, where I really got all the way into music and American Top 40. And I was following it very close every week, and I knew everything that was going on, and I knew all the popular songs. And that just kept on rolling through my 7th grade year. So you mentioned those songs. It's like yesterday to me. I remember Say particularly extremely well. I love it. It sets the table for what to kind of reset, put our mind in the right frame of like what was going on during this time. Do y'all know what the highest rated TV show was in prime time this month? It was rolling into January.
Jeff and I were talking about this. We think it's Cosby.
It's got to be the Cosby Show.
No, Cosby did not premiere. We're talking December of 83 here. Cosby hadn't premiered yet. Cosby would premiere in the fall of 84.
Wow. Okay.
The number 1 rated show right now, December 83, is Dallas. And it was actually a huge TV season for primetime soaps because Dallas, Falcons Crest, and Dynasty were all top 10 rated primetime shows for the season.
Boo.
I didn't watch them. They didn't appeal to me. But
no Cheers? Is Cheers up there anywhere?
I don't think Cheers is in the top 10.
Family Ties?
I don't have the whole list in front of me. But I do know that all 3 of those primetime soaps and 60 Minutes. So it's like a bunch of boring stuff for old people that was airing. That was right. Of course, before 84 is over, and we're a few seasons away on this show from talking about it. But, in the fall of 84, we're going to get like Cosby Show and Miami Vice, and like the whole scene's going to change, right? It's a transition year from what I think of as the early 80s into the mid 80s. You want to take a shot at the number 1 album, December of 83, as we're rolling into 84?
83.
We've already talked about it.
How about An Innocent Man by Billy Joel?
No, it's going to be Thriller.
Yeah. Okay.
So Thriller, I don't know if it may have reclaimed the spot after the Thriller video came out. It would hold the number 1 spot for a while, for a significant chunk of 1984. 84 would actually have fairly few different, in terms of number of different albums that hold the number 1 spot on the album chart. There were only like 5 for the whole year, and more than half the year was taken up by either Thriller or Purple Rain. We're going to get into we'll cover all of that as we go through this series. And also, a little trivia question. Can you name the book that was the number 1 bestseller at this time as 83 is ending? It's a title you have heard before.
It's got to be a Stephen King book, I would guess.
It is a Stephen King book.
Is it Christine?
How about Pet Sematary?
Yeah, it's not Christine. Christine already had his film adaptation and was actually in theaters at this time. Yes, Jason, you got it. This is Pet Sematary. Yep. So that's where we go. Now, with each episode, I'm going to, turn the page on the calendar. Sometimes we're going to spend several episodes on the same day because there was just so much happening so fast. Well, right now, I'm going to flip the calendar over to January 1st because Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve is going to kind of bring in the new year for us. Take a look there on our video. This is a video podcast. For those that are listening, just audio. We are putting this on video on Spotify and YouTube. There is our New Year's Rockin' Eve, bringing in 84. Priscilla Barnes and Douglas Barr as the hosts.
Hey,
so
Priscilla Barnes bringing the heat at the end of 83,
Terry,
man.
Yeah.
Of course, I guarantee you, I was watching The Fall Guy a lot more than I was watching Three's Company. I'm looking at this photo right here, wondering why that's the case. Well, of course, I remember Heather Thomas on Fall Guys, so I had the Heather Thomas poster in my bedroom, but I always got Douglas Barr confused with Bruce Boxleitner. I thought they always looked the same. But I thought this was fun. Just check it out. The entertainers that were billed to celebrate the new year here: Laura Branigan, Culture Club, David Frizzell, Rick James, and Barry Manilow. Now, y'all got to help me out. Who was David Frizzell? I don't know that name.
I do not remember him at all. I have no idea who that guy is.
I have no idea either. Anyway, okay, so we're going into 1984, guys. Tell me, what do you like the most about 84? What's got you the most? If you had to make a case, if you had to name 3 things to make your case for 84 as the best year, what are you naming? Jeff, tell me, what are some of your favorite movies from 84?
It'd probably be The Karate Kid, Gremlins, and Temple of Doom, because those are the 3 that I definitely know I went to the theater and seen. Ghostbusters would be in there, obviously.
Jason?
I'm going with Ghostbusters, The Terminator, and Red Dawn. How about that?
Okay, well, I can't argue with any of those. Those are all awesome. I am a defender of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I'm looking forward to when we get to that episode because I can make my case for it. Star Trek 3, Ghostbusters, Karate Kid is incredible. It's a year of so many film franchises getting their start, right? This Ghostbusters and Karate Kid still are still active franchises, and Ghostbusters has a huge fandom. Nightmare on Elm Street gets started here. Children of the Corn, Police Academy, Revenge of the Nerds, all these things all got their start in 1984. So looking forward to everything. Y'all, I don't need to run it by you. You know exactly all the movies, the case I can make for movies. Jeff, do you have any particular albums? Yeah.
I was just going to mention something really quick. Just covering those movies of 1984. I was recently watching season 5 of Stranger Things with my daughter, right?
Yep.
And as I'm watching Stranger Things, I'm pointing out, I'm like, that's from Terminator. That right there is from Firestarter, right? That right there is Nightmare on Elm Street. So there's aspects of Stranger Things, like 1984 is sprinkled all over, whatever, the most watched television show of 2026 or 2025. So it's funny to see even the subtle impact that 1984 has. Here we are 40 years later, whatever. So,
oh yeah, a lasting legacy. And of course, it was the year that introduced the PG-13 movie rating. So that's a permanent mark, permanent change in the movie industry right here in 84. What about albums? Y'all got any particular albums that you're looking forward to seeing covered?
I do. Yeah. I mean, Purple Rain, obviously. Van Halen's 1984, definitely huge. I'm a big fan of Wham! Make It Big, man. That album was so fun, great songs, and George Michael became a superstar that year. So that's where I would start. But Whitesnake had great albums, Rat had great albums, Metallica has a great album. So lots of fun stuff in 84.
Jeff? Anything?
Yeah, I would take the first 2 Jason mentioned right off the rip. Purple Rain in 1984 by Van Halen. He can keep Wham. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go Ride the Lightning because that is one of Metallica's best.
Yeah. So the graphic I have up now, Purple Rain, Like a Virgin, Born in the USA, absolutely iconic to the decade. It's hard to get bigger than that in the world of pop music. And you've got Make It Big. You've got things like Heartbeat City and Private Dancer that were huge albums for the artist, probably represented career peaks. There's a lot of career making albums and career defining albums for a whole variety of artists that came out in 84. And what I've learned in my research is that it's actually a huge year for rock. I underestimated how much of a year it was for rock. You mentioned Ride the Lightning. You're getting Stay Hungry. You're getting Power Slave. You're getting Out of the Cellar. You're getting Defenders of the Faith. There's so much going on in 1984.
Love It First Sting. Yeah.
Love It First Sting. Absolutely. And we're going to cover R&B, and we're going to cover a little bit of rap, and not a lot. It was not a huge year for rap, but it was significant. There were some significant things that took place. So looking forward to all that. some of my favorite TV shows of my entire life were on the air in the middle of their runs in 1984. We're talking Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team, Knight Rider, The Fall Guy, Airwolf, Magnum PI. Are you kidding me? These are the defining TV shows of my childhood. They all took place in 1984. Guys, in the world of sports, you had Akeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing meeting in the NCAA finals. You had Michael Jordan being drafted into the NBA. You had, of course, the Summer Olympics going on. This was the year of Doug Flutie's miracle win, his Hail Mary. And it was also the year that the GOAT hockey player Wayne Gretzky lifted his first Stanley Cup for the Edmonton Oilers.
Nice.
And that's not even getting into pro wrestling, which I will definitely be covering also. I've got 5 or 6 pro wrestling episodes planned, including the small matter of Hulk Hogan winning his first world championship for the WWF. So we've got so much to look forward to as we revisit 1984. I meant to bring this up earlier. I want to give you some perspective of what 1984 was like. We're looking at a list of the cost of living, where the average salary in America was $21,000.
Wow.
A house would cost you only $86,000. A movie ticket was $3, and a car $20,000. I don't see minimum wage on here. I can attest that minimum wage was $3.35, and it stayed that way for a long time. I wish we could go back to these times.
That's why we saw so many movies, man. $3.
I know.
Boom, done.
I mean,
A couple of quarters at the video game in the front.
So I did this research. The inflation, like the value of the dollar, like what was a dollar in 1984? What's a dollar in 1984 worth today in 2026? The answer is about $3.12. So if you multiply that price of that movie ticket was $3 and something, multiply that by 3, you get 9. Well, movie tickets are a lot more than $9. So we've outpaced inflation. Of course, the movie experience offers you a lot more than it did back then, but you can see simpler times. So, guys, tell me, just give me some encouragement here. What do you think is going to be the biggest appeal here, and what's the one thing you're looking forward to the most? Now, let me explain this before you answer that question. I want to lay this out for people. I'm doing this across 4 seasons, so I'm breaking the year 1984 up by quarters on the calendar. So season 1 is going to cover everything that happens in 1984 from January 1st to March 31st. That's going to be my first season, and I'm going to go like that. So the second season will end at the end of June of 84, and then at the end of September will be the end of season 3. So we're going to spread this out over 4 years. So it might take me a while to get to whatever that favorite thing is that you're looking forward to. It just depends on when it happened during the year. But Jeff, do you have like one thing from 84, or maybe one thing from a couple of different categories that you're looking forward to the most?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know you're going to discuss some of the year's big movies and albums, but what I'm specifically excited about is the pop culture highlights that you can't readily find on a YouTube channel or a podcast. I'm talking about pop culture moments that are about sports and politics, fashion, celebrity scandals, the things that will truly put me back in the year 1984 so I can have a Coke and a smile.
Jeff, we're definitely going to do all of that. And if you can come on our video podcast and model your 1984 parachute pants to show everybody what that looked like. Well, I don't know. We might put that behind a paywall. That might not be fit for the general public.
I remember I was 8 years old, so I'd look like the Incredible Hulk in 2026.
I got you. Jason, what about you?
Hey, listen, we've talked about it, and I'm looking forward to this particular movie because, as we all do, we've got holes in our history, right? And Dave, one of your holes is you've never, ever watched The Natural, the Robert Redford baseball movie. And I am just ready to experience that movie with you. Even though you're not the world's biggest baseball fan, I defy you not to be wiping tears with that beautiful score at the end of the movie on that particular movie. So there's of course Police Academy and Purple Rain and Red Dawn and all that stuff, but I'm ready to experience The Natural with you.
The Natural is one of my cinematic sins. I missed it. I have never gone back and corrected that. I will be correcting it for the series. I'll be watching The Natural for the first time, and I'll be glad to have you on that episode. We'll be glad to discuss it. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. It's kind of your fault I'm doing the show, so I had to bring you on here to kind of help kick this thing off. Before we go, Jeff, tell everybody about the A Film By podcast.
Well, we are celebrating our 7th season by changing things up a little bit. We always talk about the underrated movies of our favorite directors. We've been doing that for 6 seasons, but this year specifically, we are celebrating the films of 2001 and 2006, and we're going after the big ones, the big tentpole movies, the blockbusters, and we're having a lot of fun with it. Right now, we are right in the middle of doing our Denzel and the Man month. So we got some Denzel Washington movies. We got some Michael Mann movies, and we're having a good time with it.
Very good. Jason, tell us what you and D Graves have cooking over there at the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast.
So the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast, we call ourselves a podcast for the MTV generation. One of the things that we've done, we pair up 2 movies against each other and decide which one is the best, or albums, which one is the best. So we did, from 1984, we did Gremlins versus Ghostbusters. So we've done that. We did Purple Rain versus Born in the USA. So we have been dancing around in 1984 for years now. And this year we've got Van Halen's 1984 that we're covering track by track, and we're comparing it to Van Halen's 5150. So we're excited to do that. And we got some great stuff from 1984. Come check us out.
Good. And that Van Halen album did come out in January, so it's going to be hitting fairly early in my series. Here we are launching in the middle of February, so I don't know how close we're going to land with each other there. But and one of the things that interests me the most about doing this show is strictly following the chronology. I like seeing it lends to a little bit of randomness as far as what the topics are going to be. You could be talking about comic books one week, pro wrestling the next week, Saturday morning cartoons the third week. Maybe you're talking fashion, maybe you're talking true crime, and finally getting to a movie. Like, it's going to be all over the place, and so it's kind of it'll kind of keep things interesting that way. But it will also underscore all the time is like when these things are happening and how quickly they're happening in relation to each other. So that's the part that has me the most interested. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Folks, that's the show. I'm going to be this is a video podcast. You can find me on Spotify, and you can find me on YouTube. And I believe if I've got things going right, if things have gone according to plan, you should also be able to hear an audio version of this on Apple Podcasts. I hope you will subscribe to my YouTube channel. I hope you'll follow me on these platforms. Listen, leave comments, tell me what you're looking forward to the most, and join me every single week as we begin this journey through the best year ever, taking a comprehensive look at every single thing that happened in every aspect of pop culture. I am going to take my time. I'm going to take 4 years to prove that 1984 was the best year ever. And it thrills me to be able to get people like Jeff Johnson and Jason Colvin to help me prove my case for me. So, guys, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dave. We're looking forward to it, man.
Jeff.
We're excited.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Join me next week. We're actually going to kick off the year like every single year with a whole bunch of college football bowl games. Join me for that with the co-hosts of the Auburn Wishbone podcast and YouTube channel, Van Plaxico and John Ringer. Until then, you can spend your time in 2026 if you want to. I'm going to stay right here in 1984. Come back and see me next week.